Can someone please help me get home? A frail old woman stood at the train station, her voice quivering as she pleaded for help. Without a second thought, a poor high school student stepped forward and handed her the last $20 he had saved, just so she could buy a ticket and return home safely. He had no idea that this simple act of kindness would soon change his entire life forever. Before we dive in, where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me. The blue line screeched to a stop at Clark Lake Station, the metal wheels sparking faintly under the dim fluorescent lights. The platform was nearly empty. Just a few night commuters scattered along the benches, their faces pale in the cold glow of the underground. Jamal Washington stepped off the train, the doors sliding shut behind him with a mechanical sigh. He shifted his backpack higher on his shoulder and rubbed his eyes, the exhaustion of another long day pressing down on him. It was nearly midnight, and the station carried that eerie stillness unique to late-night Chicago, a mix of echoing footsteps, faraway train hums, and the whisper of stale air through the tunnels. He was 17, but his face often carried the weight of a man 10 years older. His dark eyes were thoughtful, steady, the kind that spoke of someone who had learned responsibility too soon. His Englewood high hoodie peeked from beneath his second-hand jacket, and his shoes, scuffed from months of wear, squeaked faintly as he walked toward the ticket gate. In his pocket was a folded $20 bill, 3 months of effort compressed into paper. The money was for an anatomy coloring book he'd found on Amazon. $19.95 plus tax, used but acceptable condition. His guidance counselor had told him it would help prepare him for advanced biology next year, the class that could make or break his chances of getting into a pre-med program at any decent college. Jamal pulled out his phone and looked at the saved listing one more time, studying the picture of the book's cover with its detailed illustrations of the human skeletal system. Tomorrow after school, he'd finally order it. 3 months of patience were about to pay off. All for the anatomy coloring book. It wasn't a fancy book, used, slightly worn, $19.95 plus tax, but to Jamal, it was a bridge to the future. His guidance counselor, Mr. Harris, said it would help him prepare for advanced biology. If you want pre-med, this will give you a head start. The man had told him with a smile, and Jamal wanted pre-med more than anything. Not because of the money or the prestige, but because of what medicine meant. Because he still remembered standing beside his grandmother's hospital bed, the beeping monitors, the smell of antiseptic, and the helplessness in his chest when the nurse said there was nothing more they could do. That was the day he decided he would never feel that helpless again. He stopped near the vending machine, digging through his backpack for his CTA pass. The flickering light overhead made the tiled floor shimmer like water. That was when he heard it. A trembling voice, thin and fragile, cutting through the hum of the platform. Please, can someone help me get home? Jamal turned. Near the waiting bench at the train station, there was an old woman standing, maybe in her 70s, with silver-white hair that had once been carefully styled, but now looked wind-blown and tired. She was clutching her purse tightly against her chest as if afraid it might vanish. There was a tremor in her voice that carried both fear and embarrassment. I lost my wallet, she said softly, her eyes darting from one commuter to another. Please, I just need enough to buy a ticket. I can pay it back tomorrow, I promise. Jamal watched as other passengers noticed her confusion and looked away, following the unwritten rule of urban public transportation. Mind your own business, don't get involved, protect yourself first. A man in a business coat gave her a dismissive glance and kept walking. A young woman in earbuds sidestepped without even looking. Someone near the turnstiles muttered under their breath, "Yeah, right, same story every night." An older man muttered as he passed, "Crazy old lady don't even know where she going." The words hit Jamal like a slap. He thought of Grandma May in her final year, when the diabetes had started affecting her mind along with her body. The confusion in her eyes when she couldn't remember if she'd taken her medication. The fear when familiar places suddenly seemed strange. The old woman's eyes filled with tears. She nodded faintly, as if agreeing with her own hopelessness. Her voice cracked when she spoke again. I just need to get home. I live in Evanston, my daughter's waiting for me." Jamal grabbed his backpack and moved toward the woman. "Excuse me, ma'am. He kept his voice gentle, non-threatening, aware that a tall young black man approaching an elderly white woman on a late-night train could be frightening in itself. "Are you okay? You seem lost." The woman looked up at him, and Jamal saw tears gathering in her blue eyes. Up close she looked to be in her 70s, with fine wrinkles around her eyes and an elegance that spoke of a lifetime of confidence now shattered by confusion. "I just want to get home," she whispered. "I came from Northwestern Memorial, my daughter just had a baby. My first grandchild. I got on the wrong train, and then I realized my wallet's gone. I checked my purse 3 times already." She opened it again, showing the contents: tissues, an old lipstick, a crumpled note, and a rosary tucked in a corner. "See, I swear I had it when I left." Jamal nodded slowly. "It's okay, ma'am, I believe you." A CTA fare was $2.50. He thought about Grandma May, who'd raised him and Keisha after their parents were gone. Who'd worked her cafeteria job at Malcolm X College until diabetes took her feet, then her kidneys, then her life. Who'd taught him that education was freedom, but kindness was what kept your soul from turning hard in a world designed to make you selfish. "Education is freedom, baby," she used to say, sitting at their tiny kitchen table helping him with homework. "But kindness, that's what keeps your soul free." Jamal opened his wallet and pulled out the $20 bill. For a long moment, he just held it, feeling the weight of all those skipped lunches, all those extra blocks walked in worn-out shoes, all those mornings watching other kids buy breakfast while he ate nothing. The relief in her eyes was immediate, but so was the embarrassment. "I can pay you back," she said quickly, as if afraid he might walk away too. "Please just give me your name or number, and I'll return it first thing tomorrow morning." Jamal smiled gently, his expression calm and respectful. "You don't owe me anything, ma'am." She blinked, clearly confused. "But I can't just take your money," she said. "That wouldn't be right." "Mrs. Morrison," Jamal said, making his decision. "I want you to take this." He pressed the 20 into her hand, gently closing her fingers around it. "That's way more than enough to get you home. Just get on the red line. I'll show you which platform, and ride it north to Howard Street. Then follow the signs to the purple line toward Linden. That'll take you straight to Evanston." Catherine stared at the money in her hand like she didn't understand what she was seeing. "I can't take this, you're just a boy. This might be all you have." "I'm 17, and it's not all I have," Jamal lied smoothly. "But even if it was, you need it more than I do right now. My grandma used to say we're all just one bad day away from needing help from a stranger. Looks like this is your bad day." "What's your name again?" Catherine asked, tears spilling down her cheeks now. "Jamal Washington." "Jamal Washington." She repeated it carefully, like she was committing it to memory. "Thank you, Jamal, I'll never forget this." He nodded. "You don't have to remember it, just get home safe, ma'am." For a moment, the two of them stood there in silence, a teenager from the South Side, and a grandmother from Evanston, strangers bound together by a single act of kindness. The distant rumble of another train filled the air, and the lights flickered again. "God bless you," she said, clutching the bill like it was a miracle. "Thank you, ma'am," Jamal replied, stepping back. "Get home safe, okay?" He watched as she walked toward the Red Line platform, her steps still unsteady but filled with purpose now. When she turned back to wave, he lifted a hand and smiled. Then she disappeared down the escalator, swallowed by the tunnel below. Jamal stood still for a while, his hands deep in his jacket pockets. The platform was quiet again. A gust of cold air blew through, and the hum of the next approaching train vibrated faintly under his feet. He looked down at his now empty wallet, and exhaled, half a sigh, half a laugh. It wasn't regret, it was peace. He knew he'd probably never see her again. But somewhere in that sprawling, sleepless city, a tired old woman was sitting safely on a train headed home because he had stopped. He checked the time, almost midnight. He needed to catch the next blue line south to get home to Englewood. School tomorrow. Biology test on Friday. The anatomy book he couldn't buy now. Jamal pulled out his phone and deleted the Amazon listing from his saved items. No point looking at it anymore. As he waited for his train, he pulled out his wallet and stared at the empty space where the 20 had been. He thought about telling Keisha what he'd done, then decided against it. She'd understand, she'd raised him to help people, but she'd also worry that he'd given away money they needed. The southbound blue line arrived. Jamal found a seat and rode it through the darkness toward home, past stops he'd memorized years ago: Chicago, Grand, Clark, Lake Washington, Monroe, Jackson, LaSalle, Clinton. His stomach growled. He'd skipped lunch again today, saving that $2.75 toward the book fund. Tomorrow he'd make another peanut butter sandwich, same as always. But he didn't regret giving the 20 to Mrs. Morrison, couldn't regret it, because somewhere in the city right now, a confused elderly woman was finding her way home instead of spending the night lost and terrified on train platforms. That had to be worth more than an anatomy book. Jamal got off at his stop on 63rd Street and walked the 3 blocks to his apartment building, a 3-flat that had seen better days 30 years ago. Their apartment was on the 2nd floor, a 1-bedroom that he shared with his sister Keisha. He let himself in quietly, knowing Keisha would be getting ready for her overnight shift at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. She worked as a custodial staff member, cleaning rooms and emptying trash bins in the surgical wing. It wasn't the nursing career she'd dreamed of, but it paid enough to keep them housed and fed, and keep Jamal in school. Their apartment was tiny, a living room with his pull-out couch bed, a kitchen barely big enough for their small table and 2 chairs, 1 bedroom where Keisha slept during the day after her night shifts, and a bathroom the size of a closet. But it was clean and warm, and it was theirs. Jamal made himself a peanut butter sandwich and sat at the kitchen table, pulling out his biology textbook. Might as well study since he wasn't going to sleep well tonight anyway. He was 3 chapters deep into cellular respiration when he heard Keisha's bedroom door open. "You're still up." His sister appeared in the kitchen doorway, already dressed in her uniform scrubs. At 26, Keisha had their grandmother's high cheekbones and their father's tall frame. She looked tired. She always looked tired these days, but she smiled when she saw him studying. "Big test Friday," Jamal said. "Wanted to get ahead." "That's my brother. Always working hard." She moved to the refrigerator, pulling out the lunch she'd packed earlier. "How was tutoring?" "Good. Helped a couple freshmen with basic chemistry." "They pay you?" "Nah. Mr. Peterson says it'll look good on college applications though." Keisha paused, studying him with the eyes of someone who'd been raising him since she was 18 and he was 9. "You okay? You seem off. Just tired." "Jamal Washington, I've known you your whole life. You're a terrible liar." She sat down across from him. "What's going on?" So he told her about Catherine Morrison, about the confusion and fear on the old woman's face, about the $20 he'd given her to get home, about the anatomy book he wouldn't be ordering tomorrow after all. Keisha listened without interrupting. When he finished, she reached across the table and took his hand. "Grandma May would be proud of you," she said quietly. "I know, but I really wanted that book, and you'll get it. Just maybe not tomorrow." She squeezed his hand. "Baby brother, you did the right thing. You always do the right thing. That's why I know you're going to be an amazing doctor someday. If I can afford medical school, you'll afford it. We'll figure it out. We always do." She glanced at the clock on the microwave. "I gotta head out. Make sure you get some sleep. And Jamal, yeah, I'm proud of you too." Every single day, after Keisha left for her shift, Jamal cleaned up his sandwich plate and converted the couch into his bed. The springs groaned as he lay down, and his feet hung off the end, like they had every night since he'd hit his growth spurt sophomore year. He tried to sleep, but his mind kept returning to Catherine Morrison's frightened face. He wondered if she'd made it home okay, if she'd found her wallet, or if it was really lost, if she had family who knew she was having trouble with her memory. He wondered if he'd done enough, or if he should have stayed with her longer, made sure she got all the way to Evanston safely. "You help when you can, baby," Grandma May's voice echoed in his memory. "'Cause someday, someone will help you too. That's how kindness works. It moves in circles too big to see all at once." Jamal finally fell asleep sometime after 2, dreaming about anatomy books and confused old ladies and circles of kindness too big to see. He had no idea that in less than 72 hours, those circles would complete themselves in a way that would change his entire life. Thursday morning started with the screech of Jamal's alarm at 6:15. He rolled off the pull-out couch, converted it back into a sofa, and headed for the shower before his brain fully woke up. The hot water lasted about 4 minutes before turning cold. Their building's hot water heater had been dying for months, and their landlord kept promising to fix it but never did. Jamal finished his shower in icy water that shocked him fully awake. By 6:45, he was dressed and making himself another peanut butter sandwich for lunch. He'd gotten good at making them interesting. Today he added some of the strawberry jam Keisha had brought home from her hospital cafeteria, the little packets they gave out with breakfast trays. He was packing his backpack when he heard footsteps on the stairs outside. Someone was coming up to their floor, which was unusual. Their neighbor Mrs. Patterson rarely left her apartment before 9, and the third-floor apartment had been vacant for months. A knock on the door. Jamal looked through the peephole and saw a delivery man in a brown uniform holding a package. He opened the door. "Can I help you?" "Delivery for Jamal Washington." "That's me." The delivery man handed him a box about the size of a textbook and had him sign on a handheld device. Then he was gone, heading back down the stairs. Jamal stared at the box. His name was on the label, along with their address, but he hadn't ordered anything. Couldn't afford to order anything. He brought the box inside and set it on the kitchen table, studying the shipping label. No return address, just a tracking number and the Amazon logo. His heart started beating faster. He opened the box carefully, and there it was, the anatomy coloring book, used but in perfect condition, exactly as described in the listing. And taped to the front cover was a note in handwriting he recognized. "You deserve this, baby brother. Don't worry about the money, just believe in your dreams. Love, Keisha." Jamal sank into a chair, holding the book, reading and rereading the note. His sister had ordered it. His sister, who was working herself to exhaustion, who'd given up her own college dreams to raise him, who could barely afford their rent and groceries, had somehow found the money to buy him this book. He pulled out his phone and called her, knowing she'd just be getting home from her overnight shift. "Hey," Keisha answered, sounding tired but happy. "You find your present, Keisha. You can't afford this. I picked up an extra catering shift this weekend. We're good. You're already working 16-hour days." "Jamal, listen to me." Her voice went firm. "That book is an investment in your future. Every dollar I spend on your education is a dollar well spent. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to get out of Inglewood and help people who need help. But first you gotta study, and you gotta learn, and you gotta have the tools you need." She paused. "Besides, Grandma May would haunt me if I didn't help you every way I could. I love you, Keish. I love you too, baby brother. Now get to school and learn something amazing." After they hung up, Jamal sat at the kitchen table with the anatomy book open in front of him, tracing the detailed illustrations of the human skeleton. This was it. This was the start of everything. With this book, he could prepare for advanced biology. With advanced biology, he could get into a pre-med program. With pre-med, he could get to medical school. It was a long road ahead, full of obstacles and challenges he could barely imagine. But it was a road, a path, a possibility where before there'd been only dreams and wishes. He carefully packed the book into his backpack, grabbed his lunch, and headed out for school. Inglewood High School was a 15-minute walk from his apartment, a journey Jamal had made every school day for 3 years. The building was old brick and concrete, functional but not beautiful, with metal detectors at every entrance and security guards who knew most students by name. Jamal liked school. It was the one place where being smart was an asset instead of a liability, where working hard was rewarded instead of mocked, where his future felt possible instead of predetermined. He went straight to the library when he arrived, finding his usual table in the back corner where the morning light came through the high windows. He pulled out his anatomy book and started studying, losing himself in the names of bones and muscles and organs. Jamal Washington, studying before 7 in the morning. A voice interrupted him. "Why am I not surprised?" He looked up to see Maya Johnson, one of his classmates from AP Biology. Maya was smart, probably the smartest person in their class after Jamal, and had already been accepted to Howard University on a full scholarship. "Big test tomorrow," Jamal said, trying to get ahead, always trying to get ahead. Maya sat down across from him. "That's why Mr. Peterson wants to talk to you. He's in the lab if you have a minute before first period." "Did I do something wrong?" "Don't think so. He just said to send you his way if I saw you. Jamal found Mr. Peterson in the biology lab, setting up microscopes for the day's classes. His teacher was a middle-aged white man who'd been teaching at Inglewood for 15 years, one of the few teachers who seemed to genuinely care about his students' futures beyond test scores. "Ah, Jamal, good you're here." Mr. Peterson set down the microscope he'd been cleaning. "I wanted to talk to you about something important. Sit down." Jamal sat at one of the lab tables, his stomach tightening with nervousness. Had he failed something? Missed an assignment? "Relax," Mr. Peterson said, reading his expression. "You're not in trouble, quite the opposite, actually." He pulled a folder from his desk. "There's a medical careers workshop happening this Saturday at Northwestern University. It's specifically designed for high school students from underserved communities who are interested in healthcare careers. They'll have presentations from doctors, nurses, medical researchers, hands-on workshops, information about college programs and financial aid, and most importantly, college admissions representatives who'll be there specifically to meet students like you." Jamal's heart started beating faster. "That sounds amazing." "It is amazing, and I want you to go." Mr. Peterson held up the folder. "I already submitted your name and application materials. You've been selected as one of 50 students from CPS schools to attend. It's this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Northwestern's medical campus. I don't know if I can afford. It's completely free. Transportation, lunch materials, everything. There's even a stipend to cover any costs like bus fare." Mr. Peterson leaned forward. "Jamal, you're the best student I've had in 10 years of teaching. You have the grades, the intelligence, and the dedication to become a doctor. But you also need connections, mentorship, and exposure to opportunities. This workshop can provide all of that." Saturday. Jamal thought about his schedule. Keisha would be working her catering shift, so he'd have to get himself to Northwestern. But Maya had mentioned something about going. Maybe her mom could give him a ride. Yes, I want to go." "Good." Mr. Peterson handed him the folder. "All the information is in here. Address, schedule, what to bring. And Jamal, this is your chance to show these people what I already know, that you're going to be an exceptional physician someday." The rest of Thursday passed in a blur of classes and studying and excited conversations with Maya and Deshaun about the workshop. Maya confirmed that her mom was driving a group of students and Jamal was welcome to join them. By the time he got home that afternoon, Jamal felt like he was walking on air. The anatomy book, the workshop invitation, everything seemed to be falling into place. He was making dinner, rice and beans, simple but filling, when he heard Keisha's key in the lock. She'd come home early, which was unusual. "Hey," he said, as she came in. "You okay? You're home before noon." "Yeah, just..." Keisha sat down heavily at the kitchen table. She looked worse than usual, pale, with dark circles under her eyes. "Just tired. Thought I'd come home and sleep. You want some food first?" "No, I'm good." She pressed her fingers to her temples. "Got a headache. Just need to sleep it off." Jamal watched his sister walk slowly to her bedroom and close the door. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on what. Keisha was always tired. That was nothing new. The headaches, she'd mentioned those before, hadn't she? He made a mental note to check on her in a couple hours, then went back to studying his anatomy book, learning the intricate systems that kept a human body functioning. He had no idea that in less than 24 hours, he'd be desperately wishing he knew more about hypertensive crises and cardiovascular collapse. Chapter 3. The workshop and the crisis. Friday arrived with unseasonably warm October sunshine. Jamal aced his biology test, helped Deshaun understand the Krebs cycle during lunch, and spent his afternoon at the library, going over the workshop materials Mr. Peterson had given him. That evening, Keisha left for her overnight shift, looking worse than she had the day before. "You sure you're okay to work?" Jamal asked as she was leaving. "I'm fine, just tired." She kissed his forehead. "Don't stay up too late. Big day tomorrow. Call me if you need anything." "I always do." Saturday morning, Jamal was up at 7, dressed in his best clothes, khaki pants, and a button-down shirt that Keisha had bought him at Goodwill for school presentations. He looked presentable, professional, like someone who belonged at a medical careers workshop at a prestigious university. Mrs. Johnson picked him up at 8:15, along with Maya and 2 other students from neighboring schools. She was a warm woman with Maya's same bright smile, and she spent the drive asking thoughtful questions about everyone's interests and goals. Northwestern's medical campus was impressive: modern buildings, manicured lawns, students and professionals walking purposefully with tablet computers, and expensive coffee. It was a different world from Englewood, one that Jamal desperately wanted to be part of. The workshop was everything Mr. Peterson had promised. They started with presentations from doctors and researchers who talked about their paths to medicine, many of them sharing stories about growing up in circumstances similar to Jamal's. Then came breakout sessions on different specializations: surgery, pediatrics, emergency medicine, research. During the lunch break, Jamal found himself in conversation with Dr. Amelia Thompson, a cardiovascular surgeon who'd grown up in Chicago's Chinatown and attended Northwestern on scholarship. "The key is finding mentors," she told him. "People who believe in you and will open doors. You can't do this alone. Nobody can. Medicine is a team sport, and your team needs to include people who understand the barriers you're facing and are willing to help you overcome them." "How do I find those people?" "You already have. Mr. Peterson recommended you for this workshop. That's your first mentor. Now you meet more people, make connections, follow up with emails and thank you notes, build your network." It sounds calculated, but it's survival. She handed him her business card. "Email me. I do summer research opportunities for high school students. The program pays a stipend, gives you real lab experience, looks fantastic on college applications." Jamal took the card like it was made of gold. "Thank you. I'll email you this week." "I know you will. You've got the look." "What look?" "Hungry, determined, like you know this is your one shot and you're not going to waste it." Dr. Thompson smiled. "That's the look of someone who's going to make it." By the time the workshop ended at 3, Jamal's head was spinning with information and possibilities. He had 5 business cards, 3 program brochures, and a folder full of financial aid information. More importantly, he had hope, real tangible hope, that medical school wasn't just a fantasy. Mrs. Johnson dropped him off at his apartment at 3:45. "Great job today, Jamal. You represented yourself and your school beautifully. Thank you for the ride, Mrs. Johnson, and thank you for lunch. Anytime, sweetheart." Jamal bounded up the stairs to his apartment, excited to tell Keisha everything about the workshop. Maybe she was home sleeping between shifts. He could wake her up just for a minute to share the news. The apartment was empty. Keisha must still be at the hospital finishing her shift. Jamal made himself a sandwich and was settling in to review his workshop materials when his phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Jamal Washington?" A woman's voice, professional but urgent. "Yeah, who's this?" "This is Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Your sister Keisha Washington was brought to our emergency department approximately 20 minutes ago. She collapsed during her shift. You're listed as her emergency contact. We need you to come to the hospital as soon as possible." The world stopped. "Is she okay? What happened?" "The doctors are with her now. I can't give you details over the phone, but you should get here soon." "Do you have transportation?" "I'll get there." Jamal was out the door and running before he'd fully processed what he'd heard. His sister had collapsed, at work, at the hospital. The same hospital where just hours ago, he'd been dreaming about his future in medicine. He ran the 3 blocks to the 63rd Street Red Line station, fed his Ventra card into the reader with shaking hands, and waited in agony for the train that would take him north to the hospital. The ride took forever, every stop an eternity, every delay making his heart pound harder. Northwestern Memorial's emergency department entrance looked different from the medical campus where the workshop had been. This was the real hospital, where real people brought real emergencies, where life and death happened every minute of every day. Jamal gave his name at the registration desk. A few minutes later, a doctor in navy blue scrubs came out to meet him, a black woman in her 40s with kind but tired eyes. "Mr. Washington, I'm Dr. Nicole Harris. I'm the attending physician treating your sister. Come with me." She led him to a small consultation room, the kind of room, Jamal knew instinctively, where they delivered bad news to families. "Is she alive?" The question came out before Dr. Harris could start speaking. "Yes, she's alive and stable. But Mr. Washington, your sister is very ill. Doctor. Harris sat down and gestured for Jamal to do the same. Keisha has malignant hypertension, extremely high blood pressure. She had what we call a hypertensive crisis. When she came in, her blood pressure was 220/130. The numbers meant nothing to Jamal. Is that bad? It's stroke level. It's heart attack level. It's immediately life-threatening. Dr. Harris's voice was gentle but firm. Your sister is lucky she collapsed here, where we could treat her immediately. If this had happened at home or on the street, we'd be having a very different conversation right now. Jamal felt like he couldn't breathe. But she's okay now. We've got her on IV medication to bring her blood pressure down gradually. She's stable, but she needs to stay here for observation. Probably 2 to 3 days minimum. After that she'll need ongoing medication, lifestyle changes, regular monitoring. Dr. Harris paused. How long has your sister been having symptoms? She's been tired, but she works overnight shifts, so I thought. Jamal's voice trailed off as he remembered. The headaches, the complaints about blurry vision, the way she'd come home early Thursday looking worse than usual. She's been getting headaches. Bad ones. And she said her vision was weird sometimes. Those are textbook hypertension symptoms. Has she been seeing a doctor? She has insurance through work, but it's not great. She was supposed to see a specialist a couple weeks ago, but the appointment cost $300 up front and we didn't have it. Dr. Harris's expression shifted to something Jamal was beginning to recognize. The look medical professionals got when they understood the patient's real problem wasn't medical, but financial. I see. Well, she's here now and we're taking good care of her. You can see her in about 20 minutes once we get her moved from the emergency bay to a regular room. How much is this going to cost? Dr. Harris hesitated. I don't handle billing, but an emergency admission, 2 to 3 days in hospital, IV medications, monitoring. You're looking at $15,000 to $20,000 before insurance. The number hit Jamal like a physical blow. 15 to 20,000, there are payment plans, financial assistance programs. Someone from our billing department will talk to you about options. Dr. Harris's voice was kind. But right now, let's focus on your sister getting better. The money will sort itself out. Except it wouldn't, Jamal thought. The money never sorted itself out. The money destroyed families, ruined credit, made people choose between healthcare and homelessness. 20 minutes later, a nurse led Jamal to Keisha's room in the cardiac monitoring unit. His sister lay in the hospital bed looking small and fragile, an IV line in her left arm, electrodes connected to her chest, monitors beeping steadily. Her eyes opened when he took her hand. Hey baby brother. Her voice was hoarse, weak. You scared the hell out of me. Sorry. Wasn't planning on it. She tried to smile. How was the workshop? Keisha, you almost died and you're asking about the workshop. I want to know. Tell me. So Jamal sat beside her bed and told her about the presentations and the breakout sessions and Dr. Thompson's business card and all the possibilities that had opened up. And as he talked, he watched his sister's face relax, saw her smile despite the exhaustion and fear. See, Keisha said weakly, Ba me noyun ru he, ye. God is opening doors for you. Don't talk like that. Save your energy. I'm fine, Jamal. Just need some rest. She squeezed his hand. Promise me something. Anything. Don't let this stop you. Don't drop out to work full time. Don't give up on medical school because of me. Tears gathered in her eyes. Everything I've done, every shift, every sacrifice, it's all been for your future. Don't throw that away. Before Jamal could respond, there was a knock on the door. A woman in business casual clothing stepped in, holding a tablet and wearing an apologetic expression. Miss Washington, I'm Jennifer Patterson from hospital billing. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I need to go over some preliminary information about your stay. Keisha struggled to sit up straighter. How much? Well, based on your insurance coverage and initial treatment assessment, we're estimating your out-of-pocket responsibility at approximately $19,500. The room went silent except for the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor. $19,500, Keisha repeated slowly. That's our current estimate. Yes, of course we offer payment plans with reasonable interest rates. I work here. Keisha's voice rose, sharp with exhaustion and panic. I clean these rooms. I empty the trash. I know exactly what your payment plans mean. 50 years of minimum payments while interest compounds. Collection agencies calling at 7 in the morning. Destroyed credit. Never owning a home. Never buying a car. Never miss Washington, please. Your blood pressure. My blood pressure is high because I work 16-hour shifts trying to keep us housed and fed, and now you're telling me I owe $20,000 for the privilege of not dying at work. Jennifer Patterson's face showed genuine distress. I understand this is overwhelming. There are financial assistance programs, charity care options. If you qualify based on income, we won't qualify. We make just enough to disqualify us from help, but not enough to actually pay for anything. Keisha fell back against the pillows, her face gray with exhaustion. Just give me the paperwork. I'll figure it out. I always figure it out. After the billing coordinator left, Jamal sat in numb silence. $19,500. They didn't have $1,900. They barely had $19 most months after rent and food and keeping him in school supplies. We'll manage, Keisha said quietly, but for the first time in Jamal's memory, his sister's confidence sounded hollow. We always do, but how? Jamal thought. How were they supposed to manage this? Even with payment plans, the monthly cost would be crushing. And Keisha couldn't work extra shifts anymore. The whole reason she was in this bed was because she'd worked herself into a medical crisis. I'll get a job, Jamal said. After school weekends. There's a McDonald's near school that's always hiring. No. Keisha's voice was firm despite her weakness. You are not dropping out of AP classes to flip burgers. You are not sacrificing your future because American healthcare is designed to bankrupt sick people. Then what do we do? I don't know yet. She closed her eyes, but we'll figure it out. Jamal stayed until visiting hours ended at 8, then took the Red Line home through the Saturday night crowds. Their apartment felt emptier than usual without Keisha's presence. He made a peanut butter sandwich he couldn't taste and tried to study his anatomy book but couldn't focus. $19,500. The number kept echoing in his head. More money than he could imagine. More money than they'd see in a year. His phone buzzed around 9. Text from Maya. How'd today go? My mom said you seemed excited after the workshop. Jamal stared at the message. How did he explain that the best day of his academic life had turned into the worst day of his personal life? That the hospital where he dreamed about his future was now the place where his sister lay connected to machines, facing financial ruin? He typed back, workshop was great, really inspiring. Thanks for asking. He didn't mention Keisha. Didn't mention the collapse or the diagnosis or the impossible debt. Just let Maya think everything was fine, because what could she do anyway? What could anyone do? Around 11, exhausted but unable to sleep, Jamal pulled out his phone and started researching hypertensive crisis. He needed to understand what had happened to his sister, what the treatment involved, what the prognosis was. The medical websites painted a terrifying picture. Malignant hypertension could cause stroke, heart attack, kidney failure, vision loss. Even with treatment, recovery took time and required careful management. Without treatment, it was often fatal. Keisha had been walking around with a ticking time bomb in her cardiovascular system, ignoring symptoms because she couldn't afford to acknowledge them. And now that bomb had detonated, and they were left with the wreckage. Jamal fell asleep sometime after midnight, his phone still in his hand, his dreams filled with blood pressure numbers and hospital bills and futures slipping away. Sunday morning, Jamal was up early to visit Keisha during morning visiting hours. She looked better, more color in her face, more strength in her voice. The doctors were pleased with how she was responding to medication. They're saying maybe I can go home Tuesday instead of Wednesday, she told him. If my pressure stays stable, that's good. Jamal tried to sound enthusiastic. That's really good. You're a terrible liar, baby brother. Keisha studied his face. What's wrong? Besides the obvious, I'm just worried about you, and the money, and everything. Don't worry about the money. I'll talk to the billing department tomorrow, work out a payment plan. It'll be tight, but we'll manage. She paused. Did you email that doctor? The one who gave you her card? Not yet. Jamal Washington, you email her today. This week at the latest. Opportunities don't wait for perfect timing. Keisha's voice went firm. My being sick doesn't mean your life stops. You keep moving forward. That's how you honor what I'm doing for you, by not wasting it. After leaving the hospital, Jamal spent the afternoon at the library, drafting an email to Dr. Thompson. It took him 2 hours and 7 drafts to get it right, professional but not stiff, enthusiastic but not desperate, showing his interest in summer research opportunities without sounding like he was begging. He hit send around 4, then spent the rest of the evening studying, trying to keep his mind occupied. Around 7 his phone rang. Unknown number again. His heart jumped. Was it the hospital? Had something happened to Keisha? Hello, is this Jamal Washington? A woman's voice, older, cultured, vaguely familiar. Yes, who's this? This is Catherine Morrison. We met on the Blue Line Wednesday night. You helped me get home to Evanston. It took Jamal a moment to place the name, then the memory surfaced, the confused elderly woman, the $20, the frightened look in her eyes. Oh, Mrs. Morrison. Hi. Are you okay? Did you make it home all right? I did, thanks to you. And I need to apologize, Jamal. When we met, I was having an episode. She paused. I have early-stage Alzheimer's disease. Sometimes I get confused, disoriented. Wednesday was one of my worst days. I forgot that I have a car and a driver. I forgot I could call my daughter. I was genuinely lost and frightened. I'm sorry. That must be scary. It's terrifying. But that's not why I'm calling. Catherine's voice shifted, became more purposeful. Jamal, it took me 3 days to track you down. I had to call the CTA, convince them to review security footage, trace your Ventra card usage. Then I found a piece of paper on the train. It had your name on it, something about a medical workshop. That gave me enough information to locate you. Jamal's mind flashed to the printout from Mr. Peterson that must have fallen from his pocket. You didn't have to go to all that trouble. Yes, I did, because you gave $20 to a complete stranger without hesitation. You saw someone in distress and responded with genuine kindness, even though helping me clearly cost you something. She paused. I want to thank you properly. Would you be willing to meet with me sometime this week? There's something I'd like to discuss. I appreciate that, Mrs. Morrison, but you really don't need to thank me. I just helped you get home. You did more than that. You treated me with dignity when I was lost and vulnerable. That matters more than you know. Her voice was gentle but insistent. Please, Jamal, just an hour of your time. How about Wednesday afternoon? There's a cafe called The Grind on Chicago Avenue, near Northwestern. Would 3 o'clock work? Jamal thought about his schedule. Wednesday after school, he'd been planning to visit Keisha, but visiting hours didn't start until 5. He could meet Mrs. Morrison and still get to the hospital. Okay, Wednesday at 3, I'll be there. Thank you, Jamal. I'll see you then. After they hung up, Jamal sat staring at his phone, wondering what Catherine Morrison wanted to discuss. Probably just wanted to give him his $20 back, which would actually be helpful right now. Every dollar counted. He spent Sunday evening studying anatomy, trying not to think about hospital bills and financial ruin. Around 9, he got a response from Dr. Thompson. Jamal, great to hear from you. I remember our conversation at the workshop. You impressed me with your questions and obvious dedication. I'd love to talk more about summer research opportunities. Are you available for a phone call this week? Best, Dr. Thompson. Jamal read the email 3 times, his heart pounding with excitement. This was it. This was how opportunities opened, one connection leading to another, one conversation creating possibilities. He responded immediately, suggesting Thursday evening for a call. Within minutes, Dr. Thompson confirmed. Things were looking up, at least in one area of his life. Monday morning, Jamal woke to a text from Keisha. Pressure still high. Doctors want to keep me through Thursday now. Don't worry, I'm fine. Just need more time for meds to work. He stared at the message, reading between the lines. Keisha was trying to sound upbeat, but something was wrong. Her blood pressure wasn't responding to treatment as quickly as they'd hoped. At school, Jamal went through the motions, attending classes, taking notes, participating in discussions, but his mind was elsewhere. During lunch, Maya noticed, "You've been weird since Saturday. What's going on?" He'd been keeping it private, but suddenly the weight of secrecy felt too heavy. "My sister's in the hospital. She collapsed Friday at work. Hypertensive crisis." Maya's hand went to her mouth. Oh my God, Jamal, is she okay? She's stable, but she's going to be there most of this week. And the hospital bill, he didn't finish. Didn't need to. Maya was smart enough to understand what medical debt meant for families like his. If you need anything, rides to the hospital, help with homework, anything, you let me know. Okay, thanks Maya, I appreciate it. After school, Jamal took the red line to Northwestern Memorial. When he arrived at Keisha's room, he found a doctor he hadn't met before, an older white man with gray hair and a serious expression, reviewing her chart. Mr. Washington, the doctor extended his hand. I'm Dr. Richard Foster, the attending cardiologist. I wanted to talk to you about your sister's condition. Jamal's stomach tightened. Is something wrong? Her blood pressure isn't coming down as quickly as we'd like. We've adjusted her medication regimen, but she's going to need at least another 3 or 4 days of monitoring. Possibly longer. Dr. Foster's expression was kind but firm. Your sister has been ignoring serious symptoms for months, maybe longer. Her cardiovascular system has sustained significant stress. Recovery is going to take time. But she will recover, with proper treatment and lifestyle changes, yes. But proper treatment means medication she'll need to take every day for the rest of her life. It means regular doctor visits to monitor her condition. It means stress reduction, dietary changes, adequate sleep, all things that are challenging when you're working multiple jobs to survive. Dr. Foster sat down, gesturing for Jamal to do the same. I'm telling you this because your sister is going to need support, not just financial support, though that's obviously important. She's going to need someone to make sure she takes her medication, to help her make and keep doctor appointments, to notice if symptoms return. Can you do that? Yes. Whatever she needs. Good. Dr. Foster stood. She's sleeping now. You can sit with her but try not to wake her. Rest is important. After the doctor left, Jamal sat in the chair beside Keisha's bed, watching his sister sleep. She looked fragile in a way he'd never seen before. The strong, tireless woman who'd raised him reduced to someone who needed machines and medication just to keep her blood pressure from killing her. How had it come to this? How had they missed the signs? Except they hadn't missed them. They'd seen them and ignored them because acknowledging them would have required money they didn't have. That was the real disease, Jamal thought bitterly. Not hypertension. Poverty, the inability to afford prevention, the impossibility of early intervention, the way financial stress created health crises that created more financial stress in an endless destructive cycle. He stayed until visiting hours ended, then took the train home, stopping at the corner store to buy ramen noodles and eggs, cheap food that would stretch until Keisha could handle the grocery shopping again. That night, lying on his pull-out couch, Jamal pulled out his phone and searched medical debt forgiveness programs. Maybe there was help available, maybe they wouldn't have to face this alone. But every program had restrictions, income requirements they barely missed, asset limits that excluded anyone with any savings, citizenship requirements, residency requirements, a maze of bureaucracy designed to help as few people as possible while looking generous on paper. Jamal fell asleep researching, his phone still glowing with information about a healthcare system that seemed designed to punish people for the crime of getting sick. Meanwhile in Evanston, Catherine Morrison sat in her home office reviewing the information her assistant had gathered. Jamal Washington, 17 years old, junior at Englewood High School, GPA 4.0, AP Track, active in science club, math team, volunteer tutor. Living with his sister Keisha Washington, age 26, employed as custodial staff at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. The paper that had fallen from Jamal's pocket, the medical workshop schedule, had provided enough information to start the search. A few phone calls to the right people, and Catherine had the full picture. She picked up her phone and called Rebecca, her daughter. "Mom? Everything okay? Everything's fine, sweetheart. I wanted to ask you something. You had your baby at Northwestern Memorial, correct?" "Yes." "Why? Do you remember seeing any of the custodial staff?" "A young black woman, maybe mid-20s. "Mom? I was in labor for 18 hours. I wasn't exactly paying attention to the cleaning staff." Rebecca paused. "Why are you asking?" Catherine explained about the train. about Jamal's kindness, about the search that had led her to learn about his family's situation. As she talked, she could hear her daughter's breathing change. "Mom? Are you thinking what I think you're thinking? I'm thinking that a 17-year-old boy gave away money he desperately needed to help a stranger who turned out to be someone with resources to help him back." Catherine looked at the information on her screen. "I'm thinking about circles, Rebecca. About how kindness creates ripples we can't always see. What are you going to do?" "I'm meeting with him Wednesday. After that, we'll see." Tuesday morning, Catherine made a phone call to Northwestern Memorial Hospital's administrative offices. As a major donor and board member, she had access most people didn't. "I need information about a patient," she told the director of patient services. "Keisha Washington, admitted Friday with hypertensive crisis. I'd like to know her current status and projected discharge date." There was a pause. "Mrs. Morrison, I'm not sure I can provide patient information without proper authorization. I'm not asking for medical details, just general status and discharge planning. It's for a potential charitable assistance matter through the Morrison Medical Relief Fund." That changed things. The Morrison Medical Relief Fund was one of the hospital's largest sources of charity care funding. When Catherine Morrison asked for information in that capacity, people provided it. "One moment please." 5 minutes later, Catherine had what she needed. Keisha Washington was stable but would require extended monitoring. Projected discharge Friday or Saturday. Estimated out-of-pocket cost after insurance, $19,500. Catherine did some quick mental math. $19,500 would barely cover her monthly household expenses. For a custodial worker supporting a teenage brother, it was financial catastrophe. She made another call, this time to Marcus, the director of the Morrison Medical Relief Fund. "Marcus, I need you to look into a case for me. Keisha Washington, patient at Northwestern Memorial. See what you can find out about her financial situation, her employment, her family. I want to know if she qualifies for our assistance programs." "Of course, Mrs. Morrison. Should I prioritize this?" "Yes, I need the information by tomorrow." After hanging up, Catherine sat in her office looking out at Lake Michigan, thinking about the scared elderly woman she'd been on that train, and the young man who'd helped her without hesitation. Maybe that boy wasn't sent by chance, she thought. Maybe this is what grace looks like, kindness creating connections that seem like coincidence but are actually something more. She thought about her late husband James, who'd built Morrison Medical Technologies from nothing, and had always insisted that their wealth came with responsibility to help others. "We're not special because we're rich," James used to say, "we're just lucky, and luck creates obligation." Catherine picked up her phone and made one more call. "Northwestern Memorial Hospital Billing Department. This is Catherine Morrison. I need to speak with your director about a patient account." Wednesday afternoon, Jamal left school early with permission from the administration, a family emergency, which wasn't exactly a lie. He caught the red line north to Chicago Avenue, then walked the 3 blocks to the Grind Cafe. The place was exactly what he'd expected: exposed brick walls, expensive coffee drinks with Italian names, college students typing on MacBooks that probably cost more than his family's monthly rent. He felt conspicuously out of place in his school clothes, carrying his beat-up backpack. Catherine Morrison sat at a corner table, and when she stood to greet him, Jamal barely recognized her. The confused, frightened woman from the train had been replaced by someone who radiated quiet authority and old money. She wore a navy blue suit that probably cost more than Keisha made in a month, her white hair professionally styled, pearl earrings that caught the afternoon light. Other customers in the cafe glanced at her with the particular attention reserved for people who mattered. "Jamal?" She extended her hand with a warm smile. "Thank you for coming, Mrs. Morrison." He shook her hand, trying to project confidence he didn't feel. "Good to see you again. Please, sit. Can I get you something? Coffee? A sandwich? Don't be shy. I'm ordering lunch anyway, and it would be rude to make me eat alone." Despite his nervousness, Jamal smiled. "A turkey sandwich sounds good, thank you." While they waited for their food, Catherine studied him with sharp blue eyes that held none of the confusion from their first meeting. I need to explain something about Wednesday night, she began. When I'm having an episode, when my Alzheimer's is acting up, I sometimes forget important context about my life. I forgot that I don't take the train out of necessity. I forgot that I have a car, a driver, assistance, resources. I forgot that I could call any number of people who would have helped me immediately. You seemed genuinely lost. I was. Alzheimer's is a strange disease, Jamal. It strips away the framework of your life, leaves you with just the immediate moment and whatever emotions are loudest. Wednesday night, I was frightened and confused and completely alone. She paused. And you helped me without knowing anything about me except that I needed help. My grandmother taught me to do that. She used to say we're all one bad day away from needing help from strangers. Your grandmother was very wise. Tell me about her. So Jamal found himself talking about Grandma May, her diabetes that had eventually killed her, her cafeteria job at Malcolm X College, the way she'd raised him, and Keisha on almost nothing, her fierce belief that education was the only reliable way forward for black kids in America. Catherine listened with the kind of complete attention that made Jamal feel truly heard for the first time in years. When their sandwiches arrived, Catherine asked about school, about his dreams of becoming a doctor, about the anatomy book he was so excited to study. And your sister? Catherine asked. Tell me about Keisha. The question caught Jamal off guard. How much should he say? He decided on honesty. She's in the hospital, has been since Friday. She collapsed at work from hypertensive crisis, really high blood pressure. The doctors say she'll recover, but, he trailed off. But the medical bills are going to destroy you financially. Jamal looked up sharply. How did you know that? Because I've spent 40 years in healthcare, and I've seen this story play out 1,000 times. Catherine's expression hardened. Good people, working hard, doing everything right, and then illness strikes and suddenly they're facing bankruptcy. It's obscene, and it's exactly what I've been fighting against my entire adult life. She reached into her briefcase and pulled out a leather folder. Jamal, I need to tell you who I really am. My late husband, James Morrison, founded Morrison Medical Technologies. We manufacture medical equipment, MRI machines, surgical tools, patient monitors. When James died 5 years ago, I took over as CEO. Jamal's sandwich stopped halfway to his mouth. You run a medical equipment company. I do. We employ approximately 2,000 people and generate roughly $800 million in annual revenue. Catherine opened the folder, which means I have resources that most people don't, and I've spent the last 3 days investigating your family's situation because I wanted to understand who you really are and whether I could help. I don't understand. Your sister's hospital bill is $19,500 after insurance, correct? How do you? I'm on Northwestern Memorial's board of directors. I made some calls. Catherine slid a document across the table. I've arranged for the Morrison Medical Relief Fund to cover the entire amount as a charitable medical debt forgiveness grant. Your sister won't owe a penny. Jamal stared at the paper. Official letterhead, legal language, his sister's name, the number $19,500 followed by the words paid in full. This can't be real. It's very real. The payment has already been processed through proper channels. Your sister will be notified tomorrow morning when she meets with the billing department. Catherine's voice was gentle. Jamal, you gave $20 to a stranger who turned out to have the resources to eliminate a debt that would have crushed your family for years. Some people would call that luck. I call it kindness creating ripples that come back around. Tears started running down Jamal's face before he could stop them. He tried to wipe them away, embarrassed to be crying in public. I'm sorry, he managed. We've been so scared. Keisha keeps saying we'll figure it out, but I knew we couldn't. I knew this was going to destroy us. And now it won't. Catherine handed him a napkin. But I want to be clear about something, Jamal. This isn't charity, this is investment. I'm investing in you because you demonstrated the kind of character our healthcare system desperately needs. She pulled out another document. Full scholarship to Northwestern University, pre-med track. Tuition, room and board, books, stipends, everything covered for 4 years. You'll still need to apply and be accepted, but given your academic record, that shouldn't be difficult. Jamal couldn't process what he was hearing. I haven't even applied to Northwestern yet. You will, and when you do you'll have a letter of recommendation from me personally, plus guaranteed acceptance into our scholarship program for students from underserved communities. Catherine leaned forward. We're also offering your sister a position at Morrison Medical Technologies, administrative work, better hours, better pay, full benefits. She can start whenever she's ready after her recovery. This is too much. We can't accept all this. You can, and you will, but I want something in return. Jamal's heart sank. There was always a catch. What do you want? I want you to remember this feeling, the feeling of being helped when you desperately needed it, and when your doctor, Jamal Washington, when you're successful and have resources at your disposal. I want you to find someone who needs help and give it to them without hesitation. Catherine's eyes were intense. Keep the kindness moving. That's all I ask. Jamal looked down at the papers that represented a complete transformation of his and Keisha's lives. No more debt, no more impossible choices, a path to Northwestern, to medical school, to everything Grandma May had insisted was possible if he just worked hard enough and stayed good. My grandmother used to say that help moves in circles, he said quietly. Your grandmother was right. Catherine stood extending her hand. What do you say, Jamal? Will you accept this help and pass it forward? Jamal stood too, shaking her hand, his voice thick with emotion. Yes, thank you. I don't know how to, you just did. Now go tell your sister the good news. Jamal ran the entire way from the cafe to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, his backpack bouncing against his shoulders, the folder of documents clutched to his chest. He arrived breathless at Keisha's room to find her sitting up in bed, looking stronger than she had in days. Baby brother, what's wrong? You look like you just ran a marathon. Keisha, he could barely get the words out. The hospital bill, it's paid, all of it. What are you talking about? So Jamal sat beside her bed and explained everything. Catherine Morrison on the train, the $20, the meeting today, the Morrison Medical Relief Fund, the scholarship, the job offer, all of it tumbling out in an excited rush. Keisha listened in stunned silence. When he finished she just stared at the documents spread across her hospital bed. This is real, she whispered. This is actually happening. It's real. Catherine Morrison paid the whole thing. And look, he pointed to another paper, full scholarship to Northwestern, and this one, a job offer for you at her company. Keisha started crying deep, shaking sobs that made the heart monitor beep faster until a nurse came to check on her. When she could finally speak, she pulled Jamal into a fierce hug. Grandma May was right, she said through her tears. She was right about everything, about kindness, about helping people, about faith that good things happen to good people. We're going to be okay, Keish. We're actually going to be okay, better than okay. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. You're going to be a doctor, Jamal, a real doctor, and I'm going to have a job where I don't work myself to death. We're going to have a life. That evening, after Jamal left, Keisha lay in her hospital bed staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep despite her exhaustion. Everything had changed in a single afternoon. The crushing weight of debt that had been suffocating her for days was just gone, and in its place were possibilities she'd barely dared to dream about. A job at Morrison Medical Technologies, administrative work with regular hours, good benefits, enough pay to support them without destroying her health. A chance for Jamal to go to Northwestern, to become the doctor she'd always known he could be. It was too much. It was too good. There had to be a catch. Except there wasn't. Catherine Morrison had been clear. The only expectation was that Jamal would someday help someone else the way he'd helped her. We're all connected, Keisha whispered to the empty room, echoing Grandma May's favorite saying. What we give out comes back to us. Thursday morning, Jennifer Patterson from hospital billing appeared at Keisha's door looking confused. Miss Washington, I need to update you on your account status. Keisha's heart raced. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Actually, something very unusual has happened. Jennifer checked her tablet. Your account balance is now 0. The Morrison Medical Relief Fund has paid your entire bill through their charitable assistance program, so I don't owe anything, not a penny. I've been working in hospital billing for 15 years, and I've never seen the fund act this quickly. Usually the application process takes weeks, sometimes months. But your case was processed in less than 24 hours, with direct approval from Mrs. Morrison herself. Jennifer looked up from her tablet. I don't know what you did, Miss Washington, but someone up there likes you. After Jennifer left, Keisha lay back against her pillows, overwhelmed by gratitude and disbelief. This was really happening. They were really being saved. She was still processing when Dr. Foster came in for morning rounds. Good news, Miss Washington. Your blood pressure has stabilized nicely. If it stays where it is for another 24 hours, we can discharge you Friday afternoon. He sat down. But I need to talk to you about ongoing care. You'll need to take medication every day, probably for the rest of your life. You'll need regular checkups, blood pressure monitoring, stress management. This crisis was a warning. If you ignore it, the next one could be fatal. I understand. Do you? Because in my experience, people in your situation, working multiple jobs, no financial cushion, dependent family members, they usually can't follow medical advice even when they want to. They can't afford the prescriptions. They can't take time off for doctor appointments. They can't reduce stress when stress is what keeps them employed. Dr. Foster's voice was kind but firm. I need to know you're going to be able to take care of yourself. I have a new job, Keisha said. Better hours, better pay, good benefits. I start as soon as I'm cleared to work. Dr. Foster's eyebrows rose. That's wonderful. Good for you. After he left, Keisha picked up her phone and called Jamal. I'm getting out tomorrow, she told him. We can actually start our new life. Our new life, Jamal repeated, and she could hear the smile in his voice. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? It sounds perfect. But life, as Jamal was about to learn, never stayed perfect for long. Friday after school, as he was heading to the hospital to bring Keisha home, he ran into Deshaun and Marcus, two guys from his neighborhood who dropped out of Englewood High sophomore year. Yo, Jamal, Deshaun called out. Heard you came into some money. Jamal's stomach tightened. What? Word is your sister got her hospital bill paid by some rich white lady's charity. Marcus's tone wasn't friendly. Must be nice having people just hand you money. It wasn't like that. Right, you probably played the poor black kid card real good, huh? Made them feel sorry for you. Deshaun stepped closer. Meanwhile, the rest of us out here struggling for real, and you getting handouts 'cause you good at playing victim. That's not what happened. Jamal's hands clenched into fists. My sister almost died, and someone helped us because I helped them first. Sure, man. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Marcus laughed. Enjoy your charity. Hope it's worth selling out for. They walked away, leaving Jamal standing on the corner, shame and anger burning in his chest. He knew their words weren't fair, knew they came from their own pain and frustration, with a system that had failed them too. But knowing that didn't make the words hurt less. By the time he got to the hospital, the encounter had soured his excitement about bringing Keisha home. She noticed immediately. What's wrong? He told her about Deshaun and Marcus, about the accusations of being a sellout, and taking handouts. Keisha listened, then took his hand. Baby brother, listen to me. Those boys are hurting, and hurt people lash out. But you didn't do anything wrong. You helped someone who needed help, and that kindness came back to you. That's not taking a handout. That's how human beings are supposed to treat each other. But they're right that we got help when lots of people don't. Why us? Why are we special? We're not special. We were lucky. Lucky that you were on that train that night. Lucky that the woman you helped had resources. Lucky that she was generous enough to help back. Keisha squeezed his hand. And now we have a responsibility to use this luck well, to help other people when we can, to never forget where we came from, or the people still struggling there. Over the weekend, more whispers reached Jamal. At the corner store, he overheard two women talking about those Washington kids who got their bills paid by rich white people. At church on Sunday, he felt eyes on him, heard the conversations that stopped when he walked past. Monday at school was worse. In the cafeteria, he sat with Maya and the study group like usual, but he noticed other students pointing, whispering. The scholarship to Northwestern had apparently become common knowledge, and not everyone was happy about it. Heard you got a free ride to Northwestern, a voice said behind him. Jamal turned to see Brandon Mitchell, a senior who'd been accepted to Illinois State. Must be nice having rich people solve all your problems. It's not like that, Jamal said quietly. Right, you just happen to help some billionaire's wife, and suddenly you're set for life. Meanwhile, kids who work just as hard as you don't get lucky meetings on trains. Brandon's voice was bitter. Systems rigged, man, always has been. Maya jumped to Jamal's defense. He earned that scholarship through his grades and character. The financial support just means he can actually use it instead of working 3 jobs. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Maya. After Brandon left, Jamal pushed his lunch tray away, appetite gone. Don't listen to him, Maya said. He's just jealous, maybe, but he's not completely wrong, is he? I got incredibly lucky. There are probably 50 kids at this school just as smart as me who won't get those opportunities because they didn't happen to be on the right train at the right time. Deshaun, who'd been quiet, finally spoke up. So what you gonna do about it? Feel guilty for the rest of your life, or use what you got to actually change things for other people? The question stuck with Jamal for the rest of the day. What was he going to do? Accept this gift and move on with his life, or find a way to expand the circle, to help more people than just himself? That evening, he visited Keisha at their apartment. She was home now, resting, taking her medications, already looking healthier than she had in months. I've been thinking, Jamal said, sitting at their small kitchen table, about Catherine Morrison and why she helped us. It wasn't just kindness, was it? She's trying to prove something, about how the system should work. What do you mean? She runs a medical equipment company. She's on hospital boards. She sees how messed up healthcare is, how people like you work in hospitals, but can't afford to be treated in them. How kids like me are smart enough for medical school, but can't afford the path to get there. Jamal leaned forward. She helped us because she wants to show that there's a better way, that investing in people shouldn't depend on random chance. So what are you saying? I'm saying maybe we shouldn't just accept this gift gratefully and move on. Maybe we should figure out how to be part of making that better way real for more people.
Yeah, Keisha smiled.
Grandma May would love hearing you talk like this, but baby brother, you're still in high school, you've got college ahead of you, medical school after that. Don't put pressure on yourself to fix the whole healthcare system before you're even 18. I know, but I can start thinking about it. Start preparing. He pulled out his phone. Dr. Thompson emailed me today. She wants me to apply for her summer research program. It's not just lab work, it's studying healthcare disparities, understanding why some communities have worse health outcomes than others. That's where I should start, right? Understanding the problem before trying to fix it. That sounds perfect. Keisha stood, moving slowly, still recovering, still weak. You want some tea? I'm making some. I got it, you sit. Jamal filled the kettle and put it on the stove. You're supposed to be resting. As he made tea for both of them, Jamal thought about circles and kindness and the complicated feelings that came with being helped. Gratitude mixed with guilt, relief mixed with awareness of how many people didn't get relief. Can I tell you something? Keisha said softly. Something I've been thinking about since I got home. Of course, I'm angry at the system, at how close I came to dying because I couldn't afford a doctor visit, but I'm also grateful we got out, and those two feelings are fighting in my head, and I don't know how to reconcile them. Jamal brought the tea to the table and sat down. Maybe you're not supposed to reconcile them. Maybe you're supposed to hold both at the same time. Grateful for the help we got, angry at the system that made us need it so desperately. You're wise beyond your years, baby brother. I learned from the best. They sat together in comfortable silence, drinking tea, processing everything that had happened in the past week. Outside their window, Inglewood went about its evening, kids playing basketball under streetlights, neighbors calling to each other, the sound of the city that had raised them, and that they were maybe finally going to escape. But escaping felt wrong somehow, like abandoning people who needed help just as much as they had. I think I need to talk to Catherine Morrison again, Jamal said. Not to ask for more, just to understand what she wants, what she's trying to build. Because if this is about more than just helping one family, I want to be part of it. Wednesday afternoon, Jamal called Catherine Morrison. Jamal, I was hoping to hear from you. How's your sister? She's home and doing well. Mrs. Morrison, I wanted to thank you again. No need for more thanks, but I'm glad you called. I was wondering if you'd be interested in coming to an event I'm hosting Saturday evening. It's the annual Morrison Medical Relief Fund Gala, a fundraiser where we recognize the families we've helped, and the donors who make it possible. Jamal hesitated. I don't know if I'd fit in at something like that. You'd fit perfectly. In fact, I'd like you to speak. Just a few minutes sharing your story. People need to hear from the families we serve, not just from me and the other board members. She paused. And Jamal, bring your sister if she's feeling up to it. I'd like to meet her properly. I'll talk to Keisha and let you know. That evening, Jamal told his sister about the invitation. She looked uncertain. A gala, baby brother, I don't even have clothes for something like that. Mrs. Morrison said it's business casual. Your interview outfit would work. You mean the one good outfit I own? Keisha laughed, but there was anxiety in it. I don't know, Jamal. Room full of rich people who donated money to help poor folks like us. Sounds uncomfortable, maybe. But Mrs. Morrison wants us there, and I think this is important. I think she's trying to show those donors that we're real people,
not just statistics.
That their money actually changes lives. Keisha studied his face. You want to do this? I do. I want to thank her publicly, and I want to understand what she's building, what she's trying to accomplish. If we're going to use this opportunity well, we need to understand the bigger picture. Okay, we'll go. Keisha smiled, but you're doing all the talking. I'm just there for moral support. Saturday evening arrived cold and clear. Jamal wore his one good outfit, khaki pants, button-down shirt, a tie he'd borrowed from Mr. Peterson. Keisha wore her interview suit, looking nervous but determined. Mrs. Johnson, Maya's mother, had offered to drive them to the event at the Drake Hotel downtown. As they pulled up to the elegant building, Jamal felt his confidence waver. You'll be great, Mrs. Johnson said, reading his expression. Just speak from your heart. That's all anyone can ask. The ballroom was exactly what Jamal had feared. Crystal chandeliers, tables draped in white linen, men in tuxedos and women in evening gowns. He and Keisha were clearly underdressed, and Jamal saw more than a few people glance at them with barely concealed curiosity. But then Catherine Morrison appeared, elegant in a deep blue gown, her face lighting up when she saw them. Jamal, Keisha, I'm so glad you could make it. She took both their hands warmly. Come, let me introduce you to some people. For the next hour, Catherine led them through the crowd, introducing them to doctors, business leaders, philanthropists. Each introduction was the same. This is Jamal Washington and his sister Keisha. Jamal is the young man I told you about, the one who helped me on the train. People were kind, interested, asking questions about Jamal's plans for medical school and Keisha's recovery, but Jamal couldn't shake the feeling that they were on display, the deserving poor who proved that charity worked. Then it was time for speeches. Catherine took the stage first, thanking donors and reviewing the fund's work over the past year. Then she shifted tone. Tonight I want to tell you a story about kindness and circles. She looked directly at Jamal. 2 weeks ago I had an Alzheimer's episode on the Chicago train system. I was lost, frightened, and without resources to get home. And a 17-year-old high school student gave me his last $20 money he'd saved for months to help a stranger in distress. The room was silent, attentive. That young man is here tonight. Jamal Washington, would you please come up? Jamal's legs felt like water as he walked to the stage. The ballroom full of wealthy people suddenly felt impossibly large. Catherine handed him the microphone. Tell them your story, Jamal. All of it. He took a breath, then began. My name is Jamal Washington. I'm 17 years old. I go to Inglewood High School, and I want to be a doctor. His voice shook at first, then steadied. 2 weeks ago I used my last $20 to help Mrs. Morrison get home. That $20 was supposed to buy an anatomy textbook I'd been saving for, but I gave it away because my grandmother taught me that we're all connected, that we're all one bad day away from needing help. He looked out at the audience. 5 days after I helped Mrs. Morrison, my sister collapsed at work from a hypertensive crisis. She's a custodial worker at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. She cleans the same rooms where she should have been working as a nurse, except she couldn't afford to finish college because she was too busy raising me. Some people in the audience shifted uncomfortably. The hospital bill was $19,500. We didn't have $1,900. We were facing bankruptcy, destruction of everything my sister had sacrificed to build for us. And then Mrs. Morrison found me. She tracked me down because of that $20, and she paid our entire bill through the Morrison Medical Relief Fund. Jamal paused, gathering his thoughts. Some people in my neighborhood say I got lucky, that I happened to help the right person at the right time. And they're right, I did get lucky. But that's exactly the problem, isn't it? Healthcare in America shouldn't require luck. Getting an education shouldn't require random encounters with generous strangers. People like my sister shouldn't have to choose between working themselves to death and getting medical care. The room was completely silent now. Mrs. Morrison didn't just help my family. She showed me what's possible when people with resources choose to invest in people with potential. She showed me that the system doesn't have to be this way, that we can build something better if we're willing to see each other as human beings instead of statistics. He looked at Catherine. I'm grateful for what you did for my family. More grateful than I can express, but I'm also committed to using this opportunity to help build that better system. Because the $20 I gave you wasn't just money, it was faith that kindness matters, that helping people matters. And you gave that faith back to me 1,000 times over. Jamal handed the microphone back to Catherine and returned to his seat on shaking legs. The ballroom erupted in applause. After his speech, person after person approached Jamal, donors wanting to know more about his plans, doctors offering mentorship, foundation directors asking if he'd be willing to share his story at other events. Dr. Amelia found him during dessert. That was powerful, Jamal. You made people uncomfortable in exactly the right way. I didn't mean to make anyone uncomfortable. Yes, you did, and you should. Dr. Thompson smiled. The summer research position is yours if you want it. We need people like you in medicine, people who understand that health outcomes are shaped by social circumstances as much as biology. As the evening wound down, Catherine pulled Jamal and Keisha aside. There's something else I want to discuss with you. Something I've been thinking about since we first met. She led them to a quiet corner. The Morrison Medical Relief Fund helps individual families, which is important. But you're right, Jamal. The system itself needs to change. So I'm starting a new initiative, the Washington Scholars Program. The what? Jamal asked. A scholarship and mentorship program specifically for high school students from underserved communities who want careers in healthcare. Not just doctors, nurses, researchers, administrators, public health workers. People who will understand the system's failures because they've lived them, and who will have the skills and positions to change it. Catherine looked at both of them. I want you to be the first Washington Scholar, Jamal. And Keisha, I want you to help run the program once you're settled in your new job. Who better to identify and support promising students than someone who's lived the struggle herself? Keisha's eyes filled with tears. You're naming it after us, after your family's story. After your grandmother's wisdom about kindness and connection. After the circle that brought us together. Catherine smiled. What do you say? Will you help me build something bigger than one family's rescue? Jamal looked at his sister, saw the same determination he felt reflected in her face. Yes, they said together. 1 year later, Jamal Washington stood in Northwestern University's biology lab wearing a white coat with his name embroidered on it. He was officially a freshman pre-med student, but he'd been working in Dr. Thompson's research lab since summer studying healthcare disparities in Chicago neighborhoods. The data told stories he already knew by heart, that zip codes predicted health outcomes as reliably as genetics, that poverty killed people just as surely as disease, that systemic barriers made it nearly impossible for families like his to access adequate care. But now he had the tools to prove it, to document it, to build the case for change. His phone buzzed. Text from Keisha. Picked our first 5 Washington Scholars today. You should see these kids, Jamal. They're going to change the world. Jamal smiled. His sister had found her calling, working at Morrison Medical Technologies during the day, running the Washington Scholars Program in the evening, identifying talented kids from neighborhoods like Inglewood, and giving them the support and opportunities they needed to succeed. That evening, Jamal took the Red Line south to meet Catherine Morrison at a small ceremony in Inglewood. The community center where he'd spent countless childhood afternoons had been renovated with funds from the Morrison Foundation, transformed into a healthcare resource center offering free blood pressure screenings, health education, and navigation assistance for families trying to access medical care. "We're calling it the May Washington Community Health Center," Catherine told him as they stood outside looking at the new sign. "Your grandmother's name seemed appropriate for a place dedicated to the kind of care and dignity she believed everyone deserved." Jamal stared at the sign, his grandmother's name in bold letters above the door where community members were already arriving for the evening's free health fair. "She would have loved this," he said quietly. "She would have been proud of you." Catherine squeezed his shoulder. "Both of you. You're building exactly what she dreamed of." As they walked inside, Jamal saw Keisha already there, organizing the health screening stations with volunteers from the Washington Scholars Program. Maya was there too, home from Howard for the weekend, helping high school students practice taking blood pressure. Mrs. Johnson was setting up the nutrition education table. Dr. Thompson was demonstrating proper hand-washing techniques to a group of elementary school kids. Even Mr. Peterson had shown up bringing a dozen Englewood High students interested in healthcare careers. This was the circle, Jamal thought. Not just the one that had started with $20 on a train, but the expanding ripples that touched more lives with each rotation. Help moving outward, connecting people, creating possibilities where none had existed before. At the end of the evening, as volunteers were cleaning up, an elderly man approached Jamal. "You're the Washington boy, aren't you? The one who started all this?" "I didn't start it, sir. I just helped someone who then helped me back." "Well, I wanted to thank you. My granddaughter, she's one of them Washington scholars your sister picked. First person in our family who's going to college." The man's eyes were wet. "You gave her hope. Gave all of us hope that things can be different." After the man left, Jamal stood alone in the community center, looking at the photographs on the walls, pictures of Grandma May from years ago when she'd volunteered here, teaching kids to read, helping families navigate social services, being the kind of presence that held communities together. He pulled out his phone and looked at the photo that had been his lock screen for the past year, him and Keisha and Catherine Morrison at the gala, arms around each other, smiling. Three people who shouldn't have been connected, brought together by $20 and one act of kindness on a late-night train. Except maybe they were always supposed to be connected. Maybe Grandma May was right that we're all part of circles too big to see all at once, circles of need and help and love that bind us together whether we recognize them or not. Jamal's phone buzzed, text from Catherine, "Same time next month. I have 5 more families who need medical debt relief. Want you and Keisha to help me review their cases." He typed back, "We'll be there." As Jamal locked up the community center and headed to the Red Line station, he passed the corner where he'd encountered Deshawn and Marcus a year ago. They weren't there tonight, but Jamal wondered where they were, hoped they were doing okay. Tomorrow he'd email Mr. Peterson, suggest they expand the tutoring program to include kids who dropped out. Maybe some of them could find their way back, find their own circles of help and opportunity. On the train heading home, Jamal pulled out his anatomy textbook, the one Keisha had bought him, now worn from constant use. He had an exam Monday on the cardiovascular system, needed to review the pathophysiology of hypertension. He understood it now in ways that went beyond textbooks, understood how stress and poverty and systemic barriers manifested in blood pressure that rose until vessels burst and hearts failed. Understood that treating disease meant addressing its root causes, which meant changing systems that made people sick. It was a big task, maybe an impossible one. But as Grandma May used to say, you couldn't change everything, but you could change something. You couldn't help everyone, but you could help someone. And if enough people committed to helping someone, maybe eventually everyone would be helped. The train emerged from the tunnel into the October night. Through the window, Jamal could see the Chicago skyline glittering in the distance, the city that had raised him, that had almost destroyed his family, that was now the place where he was learning to build something better. His phone buzzed one more time, text from an unknown number, "Jamal, Washington. This is Marcus. Heard about your community center, heard you're helping kids get into college. Think you got space for one more?" Jamal smiled and typed back, "Always got space, come by Tuesday evening, we'll talk." The circle kept expanding. $20 had started it, but kindness kept it moving, would keep it moving long after Jamal was gone, long after everyone who'd been part of this particular story had passed into memory. Because that's how it worked, Jamal finally understood. Help didn't end when you gave it. It didn't complete itself when it came back to you. It just kept moving outward in circles too big to see all at once, touching lives in ways you'd never know about, creating connections you'd never witness. All you could do was add to it when you could. Trust that your kindness would find its way to someone who needed it. Hope that when you needed help, someone's kindness would find its way to you.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.